Hey scholars, happy wonderful Wednesday. We're going to continue learning all about frontier explorers. I'm so excited. This is such an exciting unit. So today's read aloud is called Jefferson and Munroe. Jefferson and Munroe. We know about one of these people already. We know about Thomas Jefferson. We're going to do a quick refresh on who he is. Feel free to shout out anything you know, but when we start the read aloud, make sure you stop and you listen because these are really important details, okay? So let's dive right into our agenda. We'll do our vocab at bats. I have some really awesome shout outs for scholars. Go over the objective and vocabulary words, talk about where we're at and what the country looks like. We'll do the read aloud. You'll check your understanding with some questions, and then I'll walk you through the packet work for today. Vocab at bats. Who's got the word? They use the passes to cross the mountains. They use the wilderness to cross the mountains. They use the trailblazer to cross the mountains. 3, 2, 1. They used the passes to cross the mountains. Daniel Boone was a pioneer who led others to the forest. Daniel Boone was a wilderness who led others to the forest. Daniel Boone was a trailblazer who led others to the forest. Ooh, I'm trying to trick you. 3, 2, 1. Daniel Boone was a trailblazer. He was a trailblazer. Only 2 of these words have anything to do with a person. And only one of those is talking about a person, singular. All right, so Daniel Boone was a trailblazer who led others to the forest. They stared in awe at the pioneers as it stretched before them. They stared in awe at the wilderness as it stretched before them. They stared in awe at the trailblazer as it stretched before them. 3, 2, 1. They stared in awe at the wilderness as it stretched before them. The pioneers had to cut down trees to build their houses. The wilderness had to cut down trees to build their houses. The trailblazer had to cut down trees to build their houses. I'm trying to trick you again. 3, 2, 1. The pioneers had to cut down trees to build their houses. Again, we're talking about people, but only one of these was talking about more than one, multiple, plural. All right, some shout outs. ISU scholars. I heard from 2 ISU scholars yesterday about their work. I got pictures of work from 2 ISU scholars yesterday. One scholar who's done a great job of texting me pictures of her work every single day. The other scholar, I'm shouting them out because you know who you are. They fell a little behind on last week's work, so they were texting me pictures to let me know that they finished last week's work, which is awesome. If you get a little behind, that's okay. Do the work when you can and send us the picture so you still get the credit, okay? Thank you so much for being so diligent and following up and showing me that wonderful paragraph. And for Astrid scholars, I got pictures of work from 5 of you yesterday. So keep sending me those pictures of your work so that you can get credit, okay? Here we go with objective, we learn all about it. I can identify the Mississippi River, the Rocky Mountains, and land in between on a map and describe them. It's time for vocabulary. The first word we need to know is loyal. Loyal means showing support no matter what happens. The king had many loyal subjects. This one is going to get tricky, so listen carefully. The next word you need to know is mouth. Don't point to your mouth on your face. Just listen carefully, okay? Mouth, in today's read aloud, is the place where a river empties into the ocean or a larger body of water. The place where a river empties into the ocean or a larger body of water. So we're talking about the mouth of a river, where it meets the sea, okay? They entered the ocean from the mouth of the river. Look at this picture and point at the mouth of the river, right? So anytime you hear mouth today, this is what you need in your mind, all right? Okay. All right, so now that we've done our vocabulary words, we're going to talk about a little bit about where we are in history and what the country looks like at this time, because it looks very different from how it looks today. So, where are we? We know this gentleman, Daniel Boone, right? We know this is Daniel Boone. We know he was a trailblazer and a pioneer. We also know that he built the Wilderness Road so other pioneers could travel through the Appalachian Mountains and settle in what is now the state of Kentucky. He founded the Fort Boonesborough, and he continued exploring the wilderness well into his 80s. So this is a man who dedicated his life to trailblazing, to seeing places no one had seen before, to exploring. So, at the time the Wilderness Road is finished, the United States looks like this. All right, it's in green. The United States is in green, and you can see it goes just past the Appalachian Mountains. Then 30 more years pass, and the third president is in office. Of course, the third president is none other than our guy, Thomas Jefferson. All right, everybody say, hey, Thomas Jefferson. So we know he wrote the Declaration of Independence, and right now he's the third president of the United States. Today, we're going to hear why he wants to buy the city of New Orleans from the country France. We're going to hear why he wants to buy the city of New Orleans from France. He wants to buy a whole entire city from somebody else. So, what you see here is what the country kind of looks like at the moment. The current United States is in orange. Go ahead and take a look. It's expanded a little bit, right? It's gone just past the Appalachian Mountains. It's been 30 years since we had the Cumberland Gap and the Wilderness Road cutting through it. So this is what we look like now. It stops at the Mississippi River. It stops at the Mississippi River. Go ahead, trace that with your finger, Mississippi River. You got it? Okay. Pioneers have settled on the other side of the Appalachian Mountains. The green part of this map is not part of the United States. What you see in green isn't part of our country yet. Kind of weird, right? So, of course, who does it belong to? Well, we're going to listen to find out why Thomas Jefferson wants to buy the city of New Orleans. Real quick, look on this map and find the dot that is the city of New Orleans. It's near the mouth of the Mississippi River. Did you find it? Finger on that dot. That's New Orleans. Right. So, we know that the city of New Orleans is what Thomas Jefferson wants to buy. We also see that the country goes all the way to the edge of the Mississippi River. So again, we talked about yesterday a little bit how there's this idea that there's always going to be all these explorers wanting to explore more of our country, wanting to settle more of our country. We're going to continue with that idea today, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how the stage gets set for more explorers. How does the stage get set for more explorers to find out what's in the wilderness? So let's get ready. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's gonna win the GLP? Back is straight, legs crisscross, hands in star, and we'll go far. Let's get started and find out why Thomas Jefferson wants to buy this city. Entering his office in Washington, D.C., Thomas Jefferson, third president of the United States, was pleased to find his friend James Monroe waiting for him. Monroe politely rose to his feet, but President Jefferson said, sit down, James. This isn't a formal meeting, as you can see. In fact, Thomas Jefferson is dressed in his robes and slippers. Definition of comfy right there, my guy. As the two men sat down, James Monroe thought to himself, Thomas Jefferson doesn't try to make himself look fancy or important, but he is the smartest, most interesting person I've ever known. How lucky I am to be his friend. At the same time, President Jefferson was thinking, James Monroe is honest and intelligent and is willing to work hard to do a good job. Right now, Monroe and Jefferson are describing each other's characteristics. Do you think they sound like good leaders for our country? What do you think? I think so. They're saying that they're smart and honest and kind. I think they sound like pretty good leaders. Speaking out loud now, the president said, James, I have an important job I want you to do. One that I think you're especially well suited to carry out. I want you to buy a city for us. Have you ever heard of someone buying a whole city? I beg your pardon? James Monroe exclaimed. Buy a city? Yes. I want to send you to France to see the Emperor Napoleon, who rules France and half of Europe as well. So we learned about emperors all the way back in Domain 5, all the way back, Emperor Montezuma, right? We even learned about some of the emperors in Domain 4. An emperor is a ruler like a king. When you reach France, I want you to buy the city of New Orleans from Napoleon. James Monroe knew that the city of New Orleans sat near the mouth of the Mississippi River, so where the Mississippi River empties into the ocean. French settlers started settling in New Orleans many years ago because they knew that ships and boats could travel up and down the Mississippi River, allowing people to buy and sell things all along the length of the river. So trace, again, we practiced this earlier, trace the path of the river along the screen. You can see it's a lot easier to use that river rather than walking or using a horse and wagon. James Madison knew that France still owned New Orleans, plus a great deal of land west of the Mississippi River, stretching all the way to the Rocky Mountains. So we talked about how what's in green isn't owned by the United States. That currently belongs to France. West of the Mississippi River, all the way to those Rocky Mountains, that whole green area belongs to France. Jefferson stopped and stared into the flames of the fire by which they sat, for it was a chilly morning. Then he continued, "As you know, James, our nation, the United States, is on the eastern side of the Mississippi, while the area France is claimed is on the western side. So, orange United States, green France. More and more Americans are moving near the Mississippi River and building towns and cities along the river." There were groups of people already living on both sides of the river for thousands of years. Do you remember who they are? Which groups of people were already living on both sides of the Mississippi River for thousands of years? That's right, Native Americans. "We must make sure Americans can do business up and down the river if we're going to build up that part of the United States," continued Jefferson. "Right now, France and the United States are friends, and Napoleon lets American ships pass by New Orleans on their way from the ocean to up and down the river. So right now, Napoleon's fine with our ships going through New Orleans. But if Napoleon ever grew angry with us..." "I understand," said James Monroe. "Napoleon could stop our ships and boats from bringing us things we need. He could stop our farmers in that part of the country from sending food they grow to the rest of us back east, or stop people in the east from shipping farm tools to the farmers. I understand why New Orleans is important, but why would Napoleon want to sell the city?" Jefferson answered, "Napoleon needs as much money as he can get his hands on so that he can pay for supplies, uniforms, food, and ships for his soldiers and sailors, because France is fighting a war in Europe. We will offer to pay him the money he wants, which will make him happy, and he will get control of the river, and we will get control of the river, which will make us happy." "Napoleon certainly seems to have a reason to sell New Orleans to us," said Monroe. This is a picture of Emperor Napoleon on your screen. Jefferson continued conversing with Monroe. "He may have a reason, but we must get Napoleon to agree to the sale. He can be very difficult to work with, James. He thinks he's the most important person alive. If he believes you think so too, he can be a loyal, powerful friend. So he will be loyal. He'll show support no matter what. On the other hand, if he thinks you do not see him as important or do not agree with his ideas, he will have his servants throw you out of the palace and slam the door. James, you're so likable. He'll want to work with you. If you succeed, you will help us to open the whole western part of our country that is near the Mississippi River. Will you try?" If Monroe is successful, Americans will be able to settle even farther west. James Monroe stood up. "It will be my honor to do so," he said. Jefferson arose, and the two friends shook hands. As they turned to go, Monroe thought, "When I came here this morning, I had no idea I would be going to France for the President of the United States. And just think, I'm going there to buy a city." And that's it. So today's read aloud was just a candid conversation between James Monroe and Thomas Jefferson about how to buy the city of New Orleans from France. So let's check our understanding with some questions. Who's the President of the United States at the time of our read aloud? Who is it? Yeah, it's Thomas Jefferson. Who is James Monroe? Who is James Monroe? Yeah, he's the friend of Thomas Jefferson that is being sent to buy the city of New Orleans. Right. At the time of the read aloud, how are people using the Mississippi River? How are people using the Mississippi River? I'm going to give you 15 seconds on this one. They're using it to trade. They're using it to sell goods back and forth. They're using it to travel. Why are they using the river? Why use the Mississippi River for these purposes? All right, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are saying, oh, it's faster. It's faster to use the river than you go on foot or horse. You're absolutely correct. Why does Thomas Jefferson want to buy the city of New Orleans? Why does he want to buy that city? All right. Who was Napoleon? Who was Emperor Napoleon? I know you're probably shouting out who this is right now. To let me know you watched this video, have someone text me your answer to this question. Who was Napoleon? And finally, why is Thomas Jefferson worried that Napoleon is just going to suddenly stop American ships from going through New Orleans? Why is this worrisome to Thomas Jefferson? All right. So today, your packet pages. I want you to draw a blue line through the Mississippi River, and I want you to put a circle where New Orleans is. And then I want you to color the Rocky Mountains brown. The Rocky Mountains. So if I get a picture of your work and something's happened to the Appalachian Mountains, that's okay. But your main things today, Mississippi River is blue, Rocky Mountains are brown, and there's a circle close to where New Orleans is. And then I want you to write a restate answer about why is the Mississippi River important? Why is that so important to our country? Why is that so important to Thomas Jefferson? And that is our lesson for today. Tomorrow we hear all about James Monroe's masterful negotiations in France with Napoleon. So tune in tomorrow to hear so much more about this incredible historical deal that's about to go down. You don't want to miss this, guys. It's going to be great. I hope you're home. I hope you're healthy. I hope your family's well. Send me your picture of your completed packet page to get credit, okay? Bye.